we got on the phone with someone from Blue Origin, and we were like, hey, we'd like to purchase one of your seats. It was like one of the most surreal conversations of my life. Like, yeah, I'd like to buy a seat to go to outer space. Me and 2,000 people, you know, want to do this for fun.
Back in August of 2022, a popular YouTuber went to space thanks to MoonDAO.
We went to space!
And no, he didn't have to pay his own way. He was voted for to go on the trip thanks to MoonDAO.
I think the beautiful thing about these DAOs is that it's like everyone is coming together for a common goal, common mission.
So in this video, I want you to understand what a DAO is and what MoonDAO is trying to do to accelerate our off-world future.
I think it would be good to talk about like the motivation behind like why a DAO, because I think that throws people off already. What's this crypto nonsense? Like.
Meet Pablo, who is the founder of MoonDAO and a former Google software engineer. For Pablo, a DAO, or decentralized autonomous organization, makes sense. Being a part of more than one DAO now, he has seen how a group of people can raise massive amounts of money and achieve things that almost seem impossible. But for the public, the idea of a DAO is not quite as understood, even for Pablo's friends.
Trying to get my friends to like use these like crypto tools, it's just like not quite there yet. You have to be like I'm a software engineer, so like a lot of this stuff like makes sense to me, where it's like, oh, this is a smart contract and this is how it works. It's code and it's enforced through, you know, the blockchain, and it has all of these like open and permissionless qualities. To the everyday person, I think that is, it's like, it's cool, it's interesting, but I think a lot of people still see crypto as this like speculative frenzy.
But Pablo's introduction to the DAO world began at a time that we were all struggling during the pandemic.
I was living in the Mission in San Francisco, and the city was in pretty bad shape. I was working at the time at Waymo, which is this autonomous car company that Google owns. There was this kind of like feeling that I got that, especially as like the world becomes much more automated, and you kind of have this these companies that own these massive fleets of robots, that it would become like we'd see the story of San Francisco kind of play out on a bigger scale globally, where you might have just a few companies that are doing really well, but you go out on the streets in San Francisco and there's just a ton of poverty. You know, the governance of the city has some issues, to say the least. And I started working on a project to like try to get communities of people to like create libraries. So and that's where I started to learn about like DAOs. So the idea was something like, if you could make it easier for individuals to collectively share the stuff that they have with others in a way that's lower risk and in a way that's automated and doesn't require a third party, then you could remove the sort of like trust and bureaucracy in the system, and you can make it really transparent. So I started to learn about DAOs, and I was like, well, this is like a really potentially world-changing idea. I got really enamored with the technology, and I started to, you know, try to use it to create these libraries with some of my friends, and created these demos. But the UI of it, of crypto in general, is just very difficult, and so it was hard for people to wrap their heads around these like wallets and what was going on.
While Pablo's project with libraries didn't exactly work out, he still was fascinated by the idea of DAOs, and a light bulb had went off. His next undertaking would be something much more expensive.
I started to get more and more involved in DAOs, and then that's around when the US Constitution went up for bid at Sotheby's. It was this wild moment where I felt as though this idea of a DAO was reaching public consciousness for the first time. The US Constitution was going up for bid. The idea was like, well, should a billionaire own this like foundational piece of, you know, history and democracy, and could we use these like new tools to band together and like potentially be just as powerful as a billionaire. I was working on this community project, and then Twitter basically started to talk about this constitution that was going up for Sotheby's.
And now, let's begin the auction. Lot 1787, the Constitution of the United States of America.
A bunch of us got involved. It was called Constitution DAO. We actually lost to the CEO of Citadel.
At $41 million. Brooke, looks like congratulations are in order to your bidder. David, you're out. Anyone else is welcome to jump in, but Brooke Lampley, the bid is yours for the United States Constitution at $41 million. Sold, $41 million, paddle 411.
This is guy Ken Griffin. He was also involved kind of in the GME stuff. So when people were buying a bunch of GameStop stock, and I guess a similar narrative of like, you know, a bunch of people banding together to not fight against, but just be as powerful as, say, a billionaire that might be, you know, short selling a stock. We raised almost $47 million in about a week, and it's like, I mean, it was a roller coaster. Like, we had no clue that it would blow up to that level, and not only that, but we were doing it like through Twitter and through Discord, and like a lot of the people that we formed the organization with, I'd never met in person. Like, we just all hopped into like this Discord server. We're like, let's buy the Constitution, and then it like went viral. Yeah. It was pretty interesting because the core team left the DAO, and then for whatever reason, it became massively popular in China. Crypto is like one of these like really international things. People from all over the world, anyone with an internet connection can permissionlessly like get involved, which is also, it's kind of one of the beautiful things about it. It's like totally permissionless. But then you also have these like weird things where like all of a sudden something will just like blow up in another country. The DAO became massively popular in China.
Even though they didn't win the auction, MoonDAO then had another idea, and some might call it out of this world.
And then someone brought up this idea of like, what if we actually tried to send someone to space? And at that point we just started looking up the cost. Right after, it was like an insane like 2 months of my life where right after Constitution DAO like formed MoonDAO, and then by January 15th or so, we had raised like $8 million. Like over 2,000 people from all over the world put money into the organization, especially from China too. It was a crazy time in DAO world.
But when researching the cost for a seat on Blue Origin or Virgin Galactic, Pablo says things got a bit abstract.
It was like surprisingly difficult to find the prices too. Like, we weren't totally sure. We found something online that maybe a Virgin Galactic ticket would cost like $450,000. We thought, okay, well, if we were able to raise $47 million to like buy a piece of paper, like one of the original copies of the Constitution, maybe we could form a DAO to send someone up into space.
Once they had a target, it was time to raise support. But they got off to a slow start until unexpectedly China caught on again.
I led the charge. I was like, okay, I want to send, you know, someone into space, and so this was money that I had made through the Constitution DAO thing after the token went up, and I just took all of that and then put it into MoonDAO basically. With this dream of like, hey, maybe we can send someone up into space.
Pablo says a few others from the community started putting money in, but after about 2 weeks, they'd only raised about $100,000.
At that point, you know, we were wondering, okay, maybe we'll just return the money. I don't know if we're going to get to the 400K or whatever to send someone into space. Almost like overnight, a bunch of people from China saw the idea and they thought it was like super cool. Like, let's send someone to space, let's do it. And then, like, within the next couple of weeks, we raised over $8 million at the time in Ethereum.
While researching how to acquire space-themed items from Sotheby's, they were able to network and make a connection with a Blue Origin contact.
We got in contact with them. We were also trying to reach out to Virgin Galactic and SpaceX and see like, okay, what is the market really to like buy one of these seats, and what's the timeline on sending someone. We got on the phone with someone from Blue Origin and we were like, hey, we'd like to purchase one of your seats. It was like one of the most surreal conversations of my life. Like, Hey, I'd like to buy a seat to go to outer space. Me and 2,000 people, you know, want to do this for fun and select someone, and then we were able to buy 2 of the seats, actually, not just one. We decided we want to vote with one of the seats, so use the governance of the organization. So the organization's a DAO, and so all of the treasury and like all of the stuff that we do is on-chain and transparent and openly governed. So we decided to use the DAO governance to send someone to space.
Tim Dodd, aka Everyday Astronaut, was actually head-to-head with Dude Perfect, and there was a lot of back and forth in the voting before Dude Perfect was selected.
And then with the other one, we wanted to do a sweepstakes. So we wanted to open it up to anyone in the world to be able to have an opportunity to go to outer space. With one of them, we voted, and the winner was a massive YouTuber, Dude Perfect.
This is insane!
And we actually launched a contest with a few other, you know, influencers to, and had them, you know, announce their campaigns for, you know, getting them sent to space. It was really cool. With the other one, we did the sweepstakes, and the guy who won was from China. He had never even traveled out of China. We decided, okay, well, he won. Let's try to get him into the United States. Over a period of a whole year, we worked to try to get him a visa, and it was incredibly difficult. And you know, after, you know, we had letters from a bunch of people. We made a packet like 50 pages long of like why this guy should get the opportunity to come to the United States. After many tries, we just weren't able to get him to the US. It was unfortunate, but we sent Kobe Cotton up into space in 2022. So this was around August of 2022, and now we're kind of left with this like opportunity again to say, all right, well, we've got one of these tickets and we still want to send someone from our community, and so we're selecting again from the community through sweepstakes.
That person could be you. MoonDAO is re-raffling the second ticket on a Blue Origin flight. Since their first success sending someone to space, they've been working behind the scenes to make the crypto setup more user-friendly for easier access.
What we really want to do this time is, like I mentioned at the beginning, like the UX of crypto has been really bad for a long time. It's so hard to like get a wallet, you know, go to Coinbase, get crypto, do all these things. But what we'd like to do is, and there's been a bunch of innovations since we launched the previous sweepstakes, to make it way easier for people to sign up with an email and then get all, like, try to actually make like crypto more consumer friendly. We really want to open this up to as many people as possible.
And so you were able to actually send someone to outer space in less than a year, essentially.
Yeah.
Is that crazy?
It was a roller coaster for sure.
What do you think that says about like the power of the people and just like this, you know, the potential of this type of movement?
Yeah, the internet moves at like lightning speed. So yeah, the fact that we were able to raise the amount of money that we did in such a short period, and then you know, getting contact through the network. I mean, now the DAO is like over 12,000 token holders, and so I don't think any of that would be possible through another medium.
And so tell me about how ZRG came along, because obviously that's how
Yeah.
I stumbled upon you guys.
Yeah, so we're a DAO, so we basically open it up to the community to have anyone propose like projects to us. So even though like our first thing was sending someone to space, the mission of the organization is to accelerate a lunar settlement. And so and the way that we're doing that is through bottoms-up governance. So we allow anyone from the community to propose projects, and we have this treasury that is owned by all of the token holders, and they can use it towards whatever sort of initiatives that they want to do. Basically, at the Blue Origin launch, we got connected with another organization called Space for a Better World that does these zero-gravity flights with NASA astronauts like Charlie Duke, and we spoke to her, and then a few of the members of the organization were really excited about, you know, hey, what if we like sent people in our community to zero gravity, and yeah, it was another one of those kind of like surreal things that you're like, you know, okay, we're gonna charter a zero gravity flight and like send a bunch of people up. Like I'd never done anything like that before, but the community wanted to do that and then vote, you know, to have some people join us in zero gravity, and then we also did a sweepstakes for that as well.
And Pablo says the zero-G flight that I will be on took almost 9 months of planning.
A lot of the DAO is really, it's sometimes hard to explain because like people come to us with all of these ideas from all over the world. They're like, hey, I want to do this, and it's just like pitching. So you pitch it to the community, and then the community can fund it and do it. And so that's how Zero G started. Someone pitched it to the community, and they're like, yeah, let's do it.
How do you decide, because like how hard was it to set up a DAO, and then if you're doing it full time, how do you decide like what to pay yourself? Like how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't know how to answer that either. Actually, when we launched MoonDAO, me and the people who created it, we decided we're not going to take any of the token for ourselves. We're not going to pay ourselves any of the money, because we really wanted it to be like, you know, hey, we're all on equal footing here. You know, if you put money into the organization, you have just as much of a say as anyone else. And then afterwards, actually, we said, all right, well, we did all this work. Would you guys like to pay the contributors for the work that we did? And we just put it up for vote, and we said, how much do you guys want to pay us? And then the community voted. It was an interesting vote, you know. Some people were like, no, we're not paying you guys anything. Other people were like, no, this is really great that this exists, and you guys should get paid. And
so is it
we
public?
just opened it up. Yeah, you can see it.
What did they vote?
So we do things in phases. So there's the phase before the launch of the token, and that was a vote for how much of the token would go to the contributors that voted their time towards it. And if I recall correctly, it was about 5% of the total token that was in the treasury went to the contributors over a period of a year. And so that was what they voted to like pay the contributors. And then afterwards, so there's like, okay, it's actually pretty tricky to figure out like within an organization, how do you bottoms up like value everyone's time?
Yeah.
And so typically in a company, you know, you have like a CEO or like a board of directors that just like hires people in, and like they say, you know, like this person's market value is that much, that person's market value is this much, and so on and so forth. But what we tried to do is what we call retroactive rewards. So basically, people within the DAO will do work, and then they'll submit like a proof of work, basically,
okay,
for the stuff that they did. And then we ask the community, and we say, how much do you value this work? Mm-hmm. And so that way it's totally transparent, and like it's sometimes tricky because like you don't know how much you're gonna get paid until afterwards.
Yeah.
And so we've actually like set up a system where it's like you have a guaranteed payment, and you can ask for this guaranteed payment, and then afterwards you receive retroactive rewards. It's more complicated than I'd like, but we're trying to make it more and more simple over time. For the second period of the DAO, this is what we called phase 2. I think it was something like $600,000 out of the 8 million went to the entire community. So all of the people that had worked on initiatives during that whole year's worth of time got paid for the work that they did, and it was pretty cool. It was like over 60 individuals from all over the world, and all of the contributions that they did were rewarded through the system called Coordinate, which is like it's a gift-giving circle. So it's kind of like a gift-based economy, I guess, but it's like a thank yous-based. I don't know. It was just kind of one of these tricky things where you're like, okay, how much do we pay people? And okay, if we're a community, then we should probably ask them how much they want to pay us. And then,
right.
Okay, but how do they know what we're doing? And then so we had to like basically create this whole like infrastructure to support this sort of like retroactive payment.
I'm still blown away by what MoonDAO has already been able to achieve, the short timelines in which they've raised massive amounts of money and are doing things that are out of this world, like sending people past the Karman line. If it proves anything to you, the power of the people is strong, and if there's a will, there's a way.
I think it could be one of these like foundational platforms that really does accelerate progress towards space exploration, because like the will is there. Like people want to do it, people want to fund it, people want to work on the problems, they want to get there, but it's just like we have all of this bureaucracy in the way, or like an administrative bloat that the US is like. And I love the United States. Like I grew up in the United States, and it's not like I'm hating on the US or anything like that, but it's like we could move so much faster if we could just go directly. At MoonDAO, we're working really hard to bridge that gap, to get a lot of people in the space community at large to understand what DAOs are and how it could be beneficial towards what they want to do. Because I think oftentimes like we feel a bit powerless, like as groups of people. You wonder, why haven't we returned to the moon in over 50 years? And it's like a lot of people are maybe waiting for NASA or like the Congress to like allocate money towards these sort of things, but what these new tools actually can create is like a global movement, people from all over the world that want to fund and finance these things can just go ahead and do it and not necessarily ask for anyone's permission to do it. They can just say, hey, we want to send someone to space, or hey, we want to fund this technology that could be a breakthrough towards lunar settlement. If we do our jobs correctly at MoonDAO and a bunch of these other crypto organizations that are creating the financial rails for this stuff, these sort of missions that get people like excited, we should be able to find the funding for these things and then get people from all over the world to work together on these sort of initiatives.
I hope that you enjoyed the origin story about MoonDAO. I know that anything having to do with cryptocurrency can raise some eyebrows, but I think it's really cool what they're doing. The fact that they've already sent someone to space, and now they have another upcoming sweepstakes that you can enter. MoonDAO is going to choose one everyday person to go to space on a Blue Origin rocket, and it could be you. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you would like to do. And again, thank you to MoonDAO. Of course, they are the reason that I will be going on a zero-G flight that is unfortunately postponed until next year. However, I'm very excited to have that experience.